Optimism is the fuel that powers every success. Loading ourselves with this, leaving no space for pessimism, refusing to do evil and choosing to be influenced only by that which is good, is a path we can all take to achieve the success we desire. Hi there, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome to today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. We're so glad you've joined us. On the pages today, ahead of Earthquake Awareness Week, January 12 to 18, we'll look at earthquakes and what to do in the event of one. We'll also look at how you can protect yourself from lung cancer and live longer and healthier lives. Plus, we have the top news stories of the week, so stay with us.
The issue is crime.
Between 2007 and now, the crime situation has improved significantly. The murder rate is about 35% of what, reduced by about 35% of what it was in 2007.
We put the questions to Commissioner Owen Ellington, the man at the helm.
A key element of our crime fighting strategy has got to be to degrade the capacity of criminal gangs.
This Sunday on this station is JIS TV's Issues and Answers with host Ian Boyne during Jamaica Magazine.
Earthquakes occur suddenly, often leaving little time to avoid damage. About 200 earthquakes are located in and around Jamaica each year, most of which are minor. But we cannot wait for a major one to take stock of the threat and be prepared. We have more in this feature.
Much research has been done on earthquakes around the world. Scientists testing several different methods of predicting earthquakes, but so far none has been successful. On any particular fault where earthquakes are likely to happen, scientists know there will be another earthquake sometime in the future. They just can't say when. Earthquakes happen when two blocks of the earth suddenly slip past one another. The surface where they slip is called a fault or fault plane. The location below the Earth's surface where the earthquake starts is called the hypocenter, and the location directly above it on the surface of the Earth is called the epicenter. Jamaica is in a seismically active region, which means we can have an earthquake at any time. Are we fully prepared?
A part of preparedness is educating the public about the hazard. And we've been doing quite a bit in that area. Getting into the schools, getting into the businesses, working with the various sectors, so people know exactly how they should prepare themselves and how they should respond in the event that an earthquake occurs. What we lack and what we are now moving towards is the supporting mechanisms, the search and rescue capabilities, and also ensuring that the buildings that are being put up in Jamaica are sound enough to withstand the ground shaking.
The infamous Port Royal earthquake of June 7, 1692 is still Jamaica's most powerful and destructive natural disaster. Although it was felt island-wide, the most extensive loss of life occurred at Port Royal, where a portion of the town sank into the sea. At least 2,000 people died and 3,000 buildings destroyed. Another major quake that had a devastating effect on Jamaica was the Great Kingston Quake of January 14, 1907. 1,000 persons died and some 9,000 people left homeless. In this century, Haiti was hit by a powerful 7.0 magnitude earthquake on January 12, 2010, which almost leveled the capital, Port-au-Prince. An estimated 200,000 people died and about 2 million left homeless.
Across the entire Caribbean, we've learned lessons from not just Haiti, but from Chile. We recognize that where the codes have been applied in the context of Chile, buildings stood up and were more resilient, even the hospital infrastructure. And I think that's something that we have taken away from both Haiti and Chile. In the context of Haiti, we saw where weaker building practices, weaker material, poor building practices led to mass destruction and mass losses. We've also learned quite a lot from how we manage the response. You know, while we've established a plan and we've been working on it, you know, what we saw in Haiti really has validated the way we have gone about our business in terms of training up the community persons, training up our local actors, because they are the first line of response.
The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, says there are things you can do before, during, and after an earthquake strikes. Conduct a hazard hunt to identify objects which may cause damage during an earthquake. Maintain at least a 3-day supply of emergency items. Practice earthquake drills. Practice the duck cover and hold routine. Plan how to evacuate safely and know the location of utility shutoff valves.
The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management says preparation should include knowing and practicing earthquake safety positions in your home and office.
If you are indoors during an earthquake, duck, cover, and hold under a sturdy desk or table. Avoid glass-top objects. Remember, the higher the earthquake's magnitude, the more likely it will be for objects to move from beneath you. So it's therefore important to hold on to the leg of the object from which you're taking cover to keep it in place. Besides preparation, there are other important things to know. If you are outside, move to a safe area. If you are in a crowded store or public place, do not rush for the exits all at once. If you're in a car, pull to the side of the road and stop. After the earthquake, you must evacuate the building immediately. Check for injured or trapped persons. Wear protective shoes. Use a flashlight when searching for fire hazards. Check gas, water, and electrical lines for damage. Clean up spilled material. Never touch fallen power lines. Check emergency supplies and listen to the radio for reports.
Planning can significantly reduce the level of confusion that could happen during a disaster. Like individuals, companies should also have a disaster plan in place.
Create a system of alarm. Establish a safety team with clearly defined roles. Ensure that there are adequate emergency exits. Ensure that stairways are properly lit and free of obstruction. Ensure that evacuation routes and assembly points are marked.
Effective coordination and capacity building is important to protect, prevent, recover from, respond to, and mitigate the effects of natural and man-made disasters. Remember, disasters do happen, but we all can be prepared. Start by talking with the experts.
Avoid, alter, accept. 3 steps to help you quit smoking. 3 things to help you kick that cigarette butt. Avoid places, people, and things that encourage smoking. Alter the way you do things.
If you normally drive a certain route, and when you drive a certain route, you're going to pass a bar. Drive a different route, you don't pass the bar.
Get rid of ashtrays and all smoking apparatus. Breathe in and out. Drink some water. Count to 300. Go for a walk and hang around non-smokers. And after all that, accept that you need help.
With support, you're going to find, oh, I really feel better with support. Because the person who's supporting you is going to say, you know, I'm proud of you.
Do it one day at a time. Join the fight and quit smoking for life.
The Tobacco Regulations of 2013, which restricts tobacco smoking in public spaces, is already reaping benefits. Fewer people are being exposed to the dangers of smoking and having to seek medical attention. We now look at one disease you will prevent when you avoid smoking.
This is a chest X-ray of a patient who has lung cancer. And what it actually shows is the lung cancer on the left side. So this white area right here is basically where the lung cancer is.
The lungs are among the largest organs in our body, located on each side of our heart. They work with our respiratory system to allow us to take in fresh air, get rid of stale air, and even enable us to talk. But doctors say when the lungs are damaged by cancer, it could lead to several complications. Cigarette and tobacco smoking are the major causes of lung cancer.
Cigarette smoking is the number 2 among the leading causes of death worldwide.
Researchers have shown that the longer one smokes, the greater the risk of developing lung cancer. And to stop smoking can substantially reduce the risk of having the disease. The disease is common in both males and females who smoke. Statistics from the World Health Organization shows that smoking causes about 90% of lung cancers in men and 80% in women. However, doctors say the incidences of lung cancers among men are decreasing, but it is increasing in women.
We find out that nowadays you have less male that are smoking, while the incidence of smoking in female is actually increasing. So we think that's one of the most contributing factors to the increased incidence in females.
According to Dr. Blygen, the risk of lung cancer is not just limited to the smoker. Smoking near a loved one puts his or her health at risk because secondhand smoke is also loaded with chemicals and toxins dangerous to the body.
You can get cancer once you're in the vicinity, or if you lock up in the same room with the individual, or driving in a car with the individual that is smoking.
If you have been a smoker for a long period of time, you should consult a healthcare provider if you develop any of the symptoms associated with lung cancer, including persistent or intense coughing, pain in the chest, shoulder, or back from coughing, difficulty in breathing and swallowing, hoarseness of the voice, harsh sounds while breathing, chronic bronchitis or pneumonia, and coughing up blood or blood in the sputum. According to Dr. Blygen, there are no symptoms associated with the early stage of lung cancer. It may take years before symptoms start to appear, usually after the disease is in an advanced stage.
So what we should do is prevent lung cancer by stop smoking and eliminate exposure to secondhand smoke. However, if you have developed lung cancer, it can be treated at the early stage.
People who have lung cancer can present in varying forms. If you present with early, where you have a small lesion or a small growth in the lung, then surgery can actually deal with that. And you can live for 5 years greater than 85%, almost back to normal life. However, if you present late, where there is spread all over the chest, then the chances of survival is quite slim. However, we can prolong your life with chemotherapy and radiation treatment.
Over the years, the Ministry of Health and other related agencies have been appealing to the public to stop cigarette and tobacco smoking, as the cost to treat smoking-related illnesses continue to eat deeper into the national budget.
The fact that smoking is bad for us is no secret. We all see the pictures of charcoal black lungs displayed in schools, hospitals, health centers, and doctors' waiting rooms. Some of these warnings are also written boldly on the boxes of cigarettes. But smokers are still lighting up, and new smokers are adopting the habit every single day.
All the literature and the data is there that said that cigarette smoking is bad. Cigarette smoking not only affects the lung, but it affects the heart, it affects the brain, it affects the abdomen, it affects the limbs, it affects everything. In combination with other things, it can be quite dangerous. And so I would advise everyone to quit smoking and live a physical and a good life.
needed help to expand my business, but the banks only wanted to be up in my business. The high interest rates were killing my business. They never really business with my business.
At the Exim Bank, we have your business needs covered. Our application process is easy, and we provide loans at competitive rates for the productive sector. From renewable energy projects and working capital to plant upgrades or expansion and export financing. Come in and talk to us today. The Exim Bank. On the road to success, you are going to want us in your business.
Proper water resource management and conservation is an important strategy to promote sustainable development and a more equitable and inclusive society. Let's find out more about that from the Water Resources Authority in this next feature.
When it rains, it pours. The rainy season usually brings an abundance of the precious commodity, filling rivers and underground aquifers. But although the sources might be there, making water available on demand depends on how well those sources are managed and protected. Some 84% of the water we use comes from groundwater stored in underground aquifers. The Water Resources Authority is the agency of the Ministry of Water and Housing, which has the primary role of protecting, conserving, and allocating water for use from these sources. And in carrying out these functions, it collects data on water quality as well as groundwater levels across the island.
We are maintaining our allocations in keeping with the assessments that we have done. It's just like a checkbook. You balance your checkbook, you know how much money is going in, how much is coming out, and you want to keep a certain balance inside it that we have to keep for certain reasons.
This process is to ensure that we have a regular supply of water flowing through our taps. That balancing act depends largely on an important sequence of events called the water cycle. By transferring water from one reservoir to another, river to sea and to the atmosphere and back, water in our aquifers are replenished. But Mother Nature doesn't always cooperate. An increase in temperature is likely to mean less rainfall, which would then force the authority to lean more heavily on underground sources such as wells. Problems like prolonged periods of drought and seawater intrusion in reservoirs along coastal areas, limiting the availability of clean, fresh water. One solution: conservation. And that's where you come in. While the Water Resources Authority manages and protects water sources, each of us has a role to play in managing the water we use. At home, school, or in places of business, water conservation is everybody's business. While the supplier or utility company focuses on efficient transmission and distribution, consumers must also help. And in helping to conserve on water, we help ourselves. Use less, pay less. Besides conservation, there are steps consumers can take to rein in water usage. Another solution: low flush toilets.
Which basically gives you a like 1 gallon of water to flush compared to like 4 or 5 gallons from a regular sized toilet. Urinals are also being made with 1 liter per flush. You can see that, and there are automatic eyes on them that once you step back it flushes and stops.
Then there are those basic tips that govern regular routines. Not running the tap while you brush your teeth, using pressure shower heads and aerators to save water, filling up your kitchen sink to wash dishes rather than washing them under a flowing tap. Taps like these stop automatically in seconds after you turn them on. And then there are other measures.
Reuse of the grey water that comes out of your bathroom or your sink connected to the gully basin and puts it out on your lawn or grassy area. You can recycle that water.
Leaking pipes are a no-no and a sure way of depriving others of the precious commodity. In addition to plugging those leaks, consider making use of excess rainfall. Collect rainwater and store for general use, as well as to augment regular supplies.
We are applying that to some schools that we are working with rural water supply with, and with the Food and Agricultural Organization in looking at the use of rainwater harvesting for irrigation purposes.
Beyond steps to use water more efficiently is the important task of ensuring that this precious resource is not polluted.
We try to be a little bit proactive in working with NEPA, the National Environment and Planning Agency, as part of the Technical Review Committee when developments come in. We try to reduce the impacts on water resources to make sure that the sewage system that puts in don't impact on water resources, that runoff from certain areas don't get into the aquifers and contaminate the aquifers.
And while the authority does its part, we must ensure that our actions do not put our water supplies at risk. Sinkholes lead directly into aquifers and should therefore never be blocked or used as garbage dumps.
They can report incidences where they may see pollution occurring or people having discharges. For instance, if cesspool emptiers are discharging somewhere where they shouldn't be and it could impact on water resources, they can call in and make a report.
Think about it. What would life be like without sufficient good quality water? Protecting and conserving our water is everybody's business.
On the board this week, the public is being asked to take notice that as part of ongoing maintenance work, the south lawns of Devon House will be closed for 6 weeks, starting Sunday, January 12. Access to the site will be restricted and patrons will not be allowed on these lawns during this period. All of the activities at Devon House will remain unchanged. For more information, call 926-0815 or 618-3623. Business persons are invited to participate in the Jamaica Logistics Hub Symposium for Jamaican companies and investors under the theme, Transforming Jamaica's Business Landscape. It will be held at the Jamaica Conference Center from January 21 to 22. Come for the information you need to know to benefit from the opportunities that are to be derived from the developments in the Global Logistics Hub. The St. Mary Off-Road Bicycling Association SMARBA, a non-profit organization, will be having its Jamaica Fat Tire Mountain Biking Festival, Jamaica Bicycle Bash, and Jamaica BMX Racing, all week long, February 15 to 22nd, 2014. For more details, visit www.smorba.com. Send us your events for broadcast on the JIS Community Notice Board. Call 922-868022 or send an email to cbishop@jis.gov.jm.
Show how much you know about the Global Logistics Hub to be established in Jamaica and get the opportunity to win some cool prizes, including cash and a trip to Panama, by entering the Global Logistics Hub essay competition. If you are between 15 and 35 years, write an essay in 2,000 words or less on the theme Jamaica's Global Logistics Hub, the big opportunity for Jamaica and the world. Essays should be typed using either Arial or Times New Roman font, double-spaced, and include the participant's name, address, telephone number, and email address. Drop them off at the offices of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, 4 St. Lucia Avenue, Kingston 5, by 2 p.m. on Thursday, January 17, 2014, or send via email to logisticsessay@miic.gov.jm. Call 754-2164 or 754-4719 to find out more.
We now recap our top news stories from the week.
Hi there, I'm Simone Wolf with your JIS News of the Week. The new national minimum wage of $5,600 per 40-hour work week took effect on Monday of this week. Industrial security guards are also now due an increase, bumping their weekly pay to just over $8,000. Employers were reminded that they face a $100,000 penalty for paying less than the amount set by the minister under the Minimum Wage Act. Agriculture Minister Roger Clark this week refuted claims of abandonment by farmers on the Plantain Gardens River Agri-Park in St. Thomas after reaping only 18,000 pounds of onion from an estimated 600,000 pounds due to a faulty irrigation system. Minister Clark said $7.5 million had been injected through a resuscitation plan that would allow them to benefit from the production of other crops.
The area that they planted the onions, we decided that we would not go into onion in that area for the succeeding crop. We would put something else in, like pumpkin and pepper. Right now they have pepper in the ground, They even have Irish potato in the ground, and they are doing some work.
Under the resuscitation plan, markets have also been sourced for the crops, and the minister said a new pump had been bought and was to be installed shortly. The farmers are also to benefit from expert assistance and training in relation to onion production. Meanwhile, the Agriculture Ministry signed a lease agreement Tuesday with Red Stripe parent company, the Diageo Group, for 500 acres of land at Bernard Lodge to be put into cassava production. Approximately 2,500 jobs are to be created under the agreement. Red Stripe will train and certify small farmers in best practices for cassava cultivation over the next 5 years, and it will be used as the main ingredient in a new brand of beer.
The spin-offs will be fantastic, because the small farmers are going to get on board. Because whatever you do at Bernard Lodge, I know that farmers around the country will engage themselves in trying to lift their production and their productivity.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller this week announced the appointment of Venice Pottinger Scott as Director General of Public Sector Transformation and Modernization in the Office of the Cabinet. The appointment takes effect on January 13, and at the same time, the Public Sector Modernization Division and the Public Sector Transformation Unit will be amalgamated. It was also announced that the newly created Public Sector Transformation Committee, PSTC, will finalize and drive the revised Public Sector Master Rationalization Plan. The Area 1 Police Division will be intensifying its operations to rid the western end of the island of criminal gangs. This follows an announcement earlier in the week by Assistant Commissioner of Police ACP Warren Clark that the notorious Alma gang, responsible for a cycle of criminal acts, had been dismantled.
This gang was successfully dismantled when 13 members, which were most active and influential, were either arrested and charged with crimes or shot and killed during confrontations with the police.
In other crime-fighting news, it was revealed that government is in the final stages of negotiation for the third phase of the Citizen Security and Justice Program, CSJP, a community crime and violence prevention initiative. Under phase 3 of the program, $55 million will be spent in communities over the next 4 years.
We will have quite substantial amounts for to build social cohesion in communities, to increase employment and training, to deal with community justice level mechanisms, restorative justice programs, dispute resolution programs, and building the capacity of community leadership.
And finally, Tourism Minister Dr. Wickham McNeil has asserted that the harsh historic winter freeze affecting the northeastern United States and Canada should not negatively affect Jamaica's winter tourist season. In fact, he said it could result in increased arrivals to Jamaica as persons flee the harsh weather for the comfort of warmer destinations. The minister said while there had been a slight fallout from flight cancellations from North America, there should be an upswing in bookings later in the season. And those were some of the stories making news this week. I'm Simone Wolf.
We've come to the close of today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. But as we go about our business, if nothing else, share peace and love. And remember, we value your feedback, so drop us a line. Send an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. You may also follow us on Twitter at JIS News. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson, inviting you to join us again tomorrow. Until then, to take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.